Like, and Rudy, even though, like, when he was not in town, like, I can still hit him, like, hey, man, I got a fight coming up, you know, I'm sitting at this weight, I need you to help me cut weight. So he's like, all right, do this.
Like protocol.
Yeah. He's like, all right, man, this is what you got to do. Like, how much time do you got? And, like, you know. So he's always still been real supportive. All I got to do is reach out to him.
Yeah, we're actually already on there.
Oh, nice. Just make sure my alarms are turned off and going off during this thing.
I know, man. My phone probably still on, but that's fine. If you get a phone call, just put it on speaker so we can all hear.
Be my wife. Where the fuck you?
Yeah, where you at? I see you standing, sitting there doing nothing. No, man.
Okay, we're good.
Hello, everybody. Spider here, TheFightCardPodcast, coming to you from San Antonio, Texas. As always, we are inside the House of Jiu-Jitsu Academy here in downtown San Antonio. And today I'm actually being joined by Steven Martinez, bro. How are you, my man?
What's up, Spider? Thanks for having me, man.
No, not at all, man. I mean, thank you. I know we had an interview earlier, man. We talked about this upcoming fight, man, January 29th. Yeah. I mean, of course, it's going to be your pro debut. And too little, too late, man? Or what are you thinking, bro?
A little bit of that. I know I'm getting old, bro. Like, the last time I've actually fought, I mean, I've done jiu-jitsu competition on and off, like, over the years. Like, I've always stayed pretty consistent, like, at least once or twice a year.
Right.
As far as MMA, dude, my last cage fight was a little over 5 years ago.
Was it that long?
Yeah.
Oh, damn, don't tell me that, bro. I was looking at it the other day because I was like, man, I know I saw you fight. I just wasn't sure if you fought
before. It seemed that long, right?
Yeah, bro, wow. Yeah. I think I grew another white gray hair in my beard, man, with that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I mean, it was for Fury FC. And of course, I mean, they're going to be here in February. Yeah. Are you looking to fight for them again?
I wouldn't mind. I haven't talked to Eric Garcia. He's pretty cool. Like he'll hit me up every so often. Like, I've helped him set up a couple of submission hunters. He's a good guy. I just haven't talked to him. Like, I think I know he's always busy as hell. Like,
oh yeah, bro.
That guy is all over the place.
Yeah, you kind of have to be, especially at his, where he's at right now, man. I mean, he's got a thousand things going on. Not to mention his personal life, So I know he's busy. Now, of course, I mean, this is going to be your pro debut. We talked a little bit about your training, man. I mean, who's actually helping you for this fight?
So, I mean, we have a really good team there at Dominion. Like, the guys that we have there all have at least fought several times. I do have a few guys that are helping with, like, strength and conditioning that are outside of that. They're actually some of the OGs from Spartan Pit.
Oh, really?
Strength and conditioning coaches from there. So they've always been real good to me because, I was with them for so long.
Oh, yeah, man.
So I'm like, hey, man, I need to dial it in. They're like, yeah, just come by. A lot of them have home gyms. So they're just like, come over here. Or do this while you're at home and da-da-da.
Yeah,
but I have a real good support system, man. If I really have a nice tap to, if I need specialized help on something, I need to sharpen up my striking. I need to, there's something in particular in jiu-jitsu that I want to work with. I always got guys I can call. It doesn't really matter. Like, I have a good support system.
No, and I mean, we talked about it earlier too, man. I mean, you were there pretty much from the beginning. Yeah. I mean, I know you said you started training with Rudy and them at the Spartan Pit at the Live MMA gym. Right?
Well, no, at their Hebner location, right after they left.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, but you had met him.
I met him there at the Hebner location, but I knew of them at a while.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I had passed by, but so, like, yeah, I've been around for a little while. Like, even before that, you actually brought up Mike Rangel. I trained with them for a few months with that. Do you remember Texas MMA right there at Bender?
Oh, yeah.
I was there with them for a little while, like, when I was kind of dabbling into MMA from...
Oh, I didn't know that, man.
Yeah, like, I was there. I was only, I want to say, like, a few months. Like, it's less, like, about 6 months or less. But I was trying to get more into MMA to kind of dip my toes in the water and from just strictly Muay Thai. And
right.
I went there with them. So, tough camp.
No, yeah, bro. Especially, I mean, even back then, I mean, he had a lot of, big dudes, man.
Yeah.
I know Aaron Rosa, of course. He's actually going to be fighting next month, I believe, for Fury, man. He's coming back, bro, from what I heard. So,
nice.
So, I mean, I'm hoping, because, I mean, even the guy, I mean, he made it to the UFC, of course, and he hasn't been fighting in a few years, man. But, I mean, it'd be good to see him back in action, man. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, that'd be cool. And I even remember seeing him at Vongfat when I was there. Like, he would be there.
Oh, yeah.
And then actually for his UFC fight, one of his UFC fights, he came to Rudy at Spartan Pit, and we were doing his strength and conditioning.
Yeah, you see, and that's one of the things I was going to bring up earlier too, man, because I know Rudy and even Aaron, like, they used to cross-train, and not so much that they had to do it behind closed doors, but, I mean, even back then, it was kind of like cross-training was going on, but it wasn't really like it is now.
Yeah, I think back then, it was still that kind of old-schooly mentality of, like, no, you train here. You don't train anywhere else. Like, you get everything you need here, but... the fact is like, unless you're at a real big facility, like say like AK in California, you know what I mean? Those huge,
oh yeah, you have everybody there in that one gym.
Everything, you know, and yes, the scene has exploded here and it's grown, but you know, it's still kind of, sometimes you have to reach out, and
right.
And I think to camps with that mentality that you can't train anywhere else, you can't learn from anywhere, I think it's a little toxic.
No, yeah. I mean, you're gonna keep people from learning more. I mean,
developing, you know.
One of the things, and I got to keep bringing them up, man. I mean, when I first started with Mike Rangel, it was in 2000, and even back then, I mean, we were kind of like his B team. You know, he had a team before us, and we were like the new guys coming in. And I would tell him like, hey, you know, I want to train at this gym, and he's like, oh yeah, go ahead. You know, he was always real cool with it. Or he would always like, hey, that's your money, do it. You know, do what you want. And I'm like, cool, man. And I would. I'd go to judo school. I'd go to boxing just to. But one of the things that I noticed even back then, because the only workout shirts I had were Rangel Vale Tudo shirts. So I would show up to gyms and you know, all these academies, they kind of take offense, you know. And I would go and they'd be like, oh, let me show you something that works against grapplers. And I'm like, I don't know, they were doing it towards me, but I was there to learn, man. Like I was like, hey, I want to see what you have that I can use for what I'm doing. And a lot of gyms weren't cool with that, man. I mean, they would twice I was asked to leave.
Wow.
And it was because I had a shirt on, and it wasn't even a Rangel shirt. I think it was like a back then. I think it was like a Century, you know, jiu-jitsu shirt, and they were like, "Hey, you can't have that here." And I'm like, "Really, dude?" Like, I'm like, "Well, I signed up. Like, I'm interested. I'm trying to see." I think it was a Wing Chun or something. But I was just I was trying to see what was out there, bro. Honestly, you know, I was just like, you know what? I already know what I'm doing now, but if I can bring something else and incorporate it, why not? You know. But yeah, man, and the same thing with boxing. I was going to boxing gyms, and they were like, "Hey, don't stand like that, or don't hold your hands like that." And it wasn't like it is now. Now you kind of have like boxing for MMA, kickboxing for MMA. Back then, boxing was boxing. You had to stand, you know, in certain ways and certain postures, and it wasn't what I wanted to learn. So of course, after a few weeks, I would leave, you know. But it's great now. I mean, of course, you know, if somebody were to come to you for Muay Thai, of course, you show them Muay Thai. But if they were like, hey, I'm a mixed martial artist, I want to learn Muay Thai, you kind of change it up a bit, right?
Absolutely. And that's actually kind of the basis of the way that I run my class. Like, I go, you know, yes, there's Muay Thai, and then there's striking for MMA. There is differences, you know, in the way you stand, the way you would throw your punches,
right? The
way you clinch up, your footwork especially.
Oh yeah, definitely, bro. Yeah, that's a biggie.
Yeah, and that's one thing I picked up early on from, you know, early coaches. I was lucky enough to have Donnie Blue, and it's always stuck with me. He said it to me one time. He's like, man, just try and learn from as many brains as possible. Yeah, that's the best way to do it.
No, yeah, and that's a good mentality, man. Because even like Bruce Lee, you know, he's like, he should take this and make it his own, and a lot of people hating him for it. Maybe that's why, you know, everything happened even now, man. But it's a smart thing to do, man. I mean, not everybody's gonna be as inviting to tell you to go, because, you know, everybody's like, you know, their secrets, techniques and whatnot. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the fact that you've actually trained with a lot of people, man. I mean, you keep throwing names out there, man. And I mean, we probably know the same people, I'm pretty sure, especially here in San Antonio. But I mean, if you had an opportunity, man, to say go somewhere for like a month and train with anybody in the world, man, who would it be?
Dwayne Ludwig.
Oh shit, that was quick, bro.
Yeah, and I've done his seminars. Anytime he's come to Texas, to Austin, I went and done them, and that actually kind of completely changed my striking game. Yeah. But yeah, if I could go anywhere and spend a month or two with him up there in Colorado. No,
definitely.
Dude, I think just his system it's near perfect. Yeah. Near perfect. So yeah, definitely him.
That's cool, and actually, I tell people, because his wife lives here, or his wife's family. Oh, okay. They're from here in San Antonio, man. Really? Yeah, and the thing about it is, I mean, he's real good friends with Pete Spratt, so every time he's in town, he goes out there. But it wasn't until like I had him on Facebook one time, and they were trying to find a home for one of their parents' dogs, or somebody had a dog, and I reached out to Dwayne, and I said, I'd love to, man. I have a big yard, and he was like, well, I got one person in front of you. They don't take them, you know. And he messaged me back, and he says, man, they're going to take him. And I said, dude, we would have been like, you know, dog-in-laws or something, man. I would have been like, hey, that's Dwayne Ludwig's, you know. Yeah. So, I mean, but his, you know, his wife's family's from here in San Antonio, man. They live out there in the south side.
Wow, I didn't know that.
And that's a cool thing. And one of the things I love about San Antonio, it's a military city, USA. So, I mean, Pablo Natello's cousins live here. I mean, there's a lot of UFC fighters that have families here. Of course, a lot of their kids, they go to boot camp, you know, Lackland Air Force Base, so they're always here visiting, and that's kind of the thing with this, man. It's not that this is the platform's here, man. I'm trying to catch them as they come, because they're coming, bro. Even last year, You had a couple. Thomas Denny, his daughter was here, and I was trying to get a hold of him. It was hard because the family thing. They were at SeaWorld, and I didn't want to stalk them out there, man.
Yeah.
But it's just a lot of these veterans, man, and it's I mean, it's gonna get better, man. I mean, the fact that a lot of people are moving to San Antonio, even now, I mean, it's bringing a lot of people, man, and I like that.
Yeah, and just guys, the simple fact of guys from this town making it to the UFC.
Yeah, definitely.
That's drawn a lot of eyes here.
No, yeah. I mean, right now, even CJ Hernandez, CJ Vergara, I'm sorry, and Alex Hernandez, of course, himself also still in there. And, we've had guys that made it and didn't make the cut, but they're still in there, man, and they're still in the fight game. And, that's one of the good things, even for us, even though Pete Spratt had moved here, and I said it before, I mean, he was already in the UFC, but he moved here to San Antonio, and he kind of brought that vibe, because now after a while, it's like, okay, you know what? I mean, there are so many gyms already here, man, but it's just, I guess we needed that little push to kind of like, who else is out there? Aaron Rosa had gotten picked up, since then. I mean, a few fighters have made it. I know one of the Ivy guys, was in there. Ray Rodriguez in the South Side, of course, was on there as well. And it's only a matter of time, man. I mean, I see, this new year, man, I see a couple more people making that move and getting picked up. So definitely rooting for those guys.
Yeah, and I think, too, it's definitely just raised the level of just the martial arts community here.
Right.
Like, the guys that, made it, and even if they're not there right now, like, still the fact that they made it there, and then they come back and they're still cultivating the new breed coming up, these young cats that are coming through. I think that it's freaking awesome, dude. Like, I think it's badass. No, I mean, it is, man, because there's opportunity. I mean, a lot of time, I know COVID, the UFC was having fighters drop left and right, man. So that opened up a lot of doors for a lot of other fighters, because they're like, well, who's the champion in this promotion, and who's not sick?
Yeah, exactly. who's not walking around fat? Bring him in, and because of that, it happened, and a lot of people got picked up, man. And I'm like cool with that, dude, because it's kind of like, even now, man. I mean, of course, sometimes like Fury FC, for example, man, they have cards, and a lot of fighters drop. Whether it's I think some of them on their last fight had visa problems coming into the country, which is pretty cool, man. They're actually coming from outside the U.S., man. But because of that, other fighters got bumped up, and they got the opportunity to fight on the UFC Fight Pass. And so it opens up more opportunities, because now they're like, well heck, we're here to watch this guy, but who is this guy, And one of the ones that it reminds me of is the Dana White looking for a fight.
Yeah. And
they were looking at one opponent that was fighting Jamal Emmers from here in San Antonio, right? I mean, he's out there in Cali now, but the guy, Jamal Emmers, put on such a good show that Dana was like, man, forget that guy. Who's this kid? I mean, he lost, but it opened, Dana's eyes, and it's just like, man, you kind of have to, man.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're in that position where it's like, you know what, even if you lose, man, just put on the show, because it's going to raise eyebrows.
Yeah, yeah. Like, if you can show them that you're hungry.
Yeah, exactly, bro.
If you can show them that, like, win, lose, or draw, if you're fighting, tooth and nail, you're not fighting, you're fighting to win, you're not fighting to not lose.
You see, and that's another thing I always tell people, man. I notice that in fighters, because there's fighters that I'm like, oh, hell yeah, dude. And then I see them fight, and it's just like they fight not to lose, and it changes the whole game plan, because now they're more on the offense instead of the defense, and it's kind of, it makes sometimes for a boring fight. I mean, I understand it, and of course they're not trying to, take a lawsuit, but one of the things that Dimitri Ivy, as a matter of fact, he was here the other day, and he brought up was just like, you know what? They look at your records, man. If you're like undefeated, and they look at your record, and you're fighting 0-5, 0-8, 0-10, they're like, this guy's fighting nobodies. Like, they want somebody that's gonna step up and be the next, because a lot of guys go to the UFC and they don't make it, man. They get smashed, and it shows. I mean, whether, not saying that they're bad mixed martial artists or bad fighters, but it's just it's a mentality.
And he's right. It's a resume.
Yeah.
They don't have to necessarily, like, you might have put on a badass show, you were given a damn good fight, but you lost it.
Yeah.
So you got an 0-4 record, you got an 0-5 record. So when they look back, and if you're looking for an opportunity, they pull up a resume and like, well, man, you don't want to fight.
Yeah.
Next guy. And it kind of sucks. It's like not every promoter does all their homework, and not every matchmaker, not even the promoters, just their matchmakers. Not every matchmaker does their homework. They're just gonna, they see the record, they're like, nope, next.
You see, and that's one of the things, because even like the promoters now, I guess not so much the go ones, but the ones that have a team. I mean, like you said, they have a media guy, they have a one doing the matchmaking, they have everybody, because obviously they're busy doing their thing. But they have to do their homework. I mean, I know even here in Texas, man, as long as I've been here, you know, I was here when they were doing open hand fighting, you know, striking, you know, no close fist. And back then, it didn't really matter because you really couldn't Google people and like, oh, who is this guy? Oh, what does he do? You knew where he lived or what side of town, you know, as far as city he was from. But
do you remember the Tama days? Like, they didn't always have their,
bro.
licenses. So, like, I had a few matches with them that aren't on record because they didn't have their licenses.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Like, I remember... you know, I'm not going to say too much, so I don't get nobody in trouble. But, I mean, I remember days where, like, they didn't have enough gloves for everybody. So guys would be trading gloves coming in and out of the cage.
Yeah.
You didn't know if your opponent showed up. And you're like, well, I'm waiting at 155. They go, well, we got a 170 guy. His opponent didn't show up. You want to fight him? Screw it. Let's go.
Yeah. No, yeah. I remember.
It was the Wild West. It was the Wild West. You remember that?
Yeah. And I remember that. Because even Aaron Suarez, I mean, he's been joining me on Fridays and he'll be here tomorrow. But, I mean, he was saying, like, back then, he was like, man, what paperwork?
Yeah.
You know, you kind of just showed up and...
No licenses. It's like, hey, we got an event. Let's go.
Yeah. You look like a fighter. You know how to throw a punch, sure, okay.
Or calling people out in the crowd.
Yeah, bro. You see, and it's funny, dude, because even and I forgot the promoter's name from Extreme Fighting back in the day out there with Pat Miletich and all those guys, but he was known for that. He used to get guys from the crowd and like, hey, you want to fight?
Yeah, because if they didn't have enough guys to match them up,
yeah,
like, hey,
man,
we need a tough guy who wants to try and prove it.
Yeah, and a lot of it, unfortunately, I mean, they used to feed him to a lot of the like Travis Fulton. You know, who was like, yeah, they used to feed them to the freaking lions, dude, and they get smashed, bro. And a lot of it was brutal, man, because you see the fight and you're like, damn, what the hell is this guy doing there, man? And I remember watching those videos, and there's just one that stands out for me, man. But this guy, he was like a redneck, you know, and not to say either or. I mean, I'm not, you know, but I mean, he was like,
I know what you mean.
Yeah, but he showed up and he's got this brand new gi. And he's got like these pretty patches, bro, like Carlson Gracie, Hoist Gracie. He's got like all these Gracie patches, and I was like, with the black belt. And I'm like looking at him, and I'm like,
at that time there couldn't have been that many black belts.
Yeah. Well, not just that, but I'm thinking, why is it fucking gi so new? You know, he fought in the gi, but it was like literally brand new. And I'm thinking, like, dude, I don't know, it's just weird. But I mean, he got smashed, bro. Like the guy took him down, just beat the shit out of him. And I was like, okay, that guy was no black belt, man. Like they dressed him up and threw him in there, and I said, that's, you know, the early days, man. I mean, they're dangerous because I mean, a lot of people got damaged, dude. I'm pretty sure, you know.
See, and that's back in the day. Like, I want to say that's probably like the start of like the whole McDojo.
Oh yeah,
like, with the Bushido like thing.
The series.
Because you know that's back then you could get away with shit like that.
Yeah.
You didn't have to, you know, the people couldn't Google you. They couldn't go find you at your gym like, oh, you are a black belt, let's roll. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? It's, you know, the great equalizer, the mat.
No, yeah.
You know, back then you could kind of bullshit your way through it, and you know, I mean, you still see it. It's insane how some people just believe some of this crap, and I'm like,
yeah, you see, and even in today's world, because you can literally punch in somebody's name and all his stuff will come out. And I know it was one of the UFC Ultimate Fighters. One of the fighters on there got on saying that he was like a 15-0, and they didn't research him. Nobody looked him up, and he fought in the Contender Series, and it turned out he had never fought in his life. Like, he wasn't even licensed. It was just like crazy. Then I'll look him up, but I know he came out, and Dana was just like, yeah, somebody didn't do their homework. Obviously, he wasn't like the matchmaker or the guy, you know, but and it's like people still get away with that, man.
Yeah, it's so wild. I don't know. It does blow my mind because and it's funny that it still happens with the amount of information we have right in front of us.
Yeah. Everything's on their phone, man. We're
like,
still...
Yeah, it's like, dude, it takes 10-15 minutes to do like a real deep dive on someone.
Yeah.
Like, some people are like, it takes too long to really try and vet somebody out. I'm like, bro, I go...
Like, doop, doop.
Like, man, give me 15 minutes, bro. I'll find out this guy's email address, where he grew up, where his mom lives.
Yeah, where he works.
Yeah.
His credit score, everything, man.
For real.
But yeah, but it's true, man. But it does happen. I mean, I'm pretty sure even now, I mean, promotions have gotten better, you know, at it. But, I mean, it still happens with even promotions, man. Sometimes, you know, so they won't lose a card. They'll just fill it in, and they'll throw whoever in there. And
it's hard to blame them, you know, like, especially after COVID and everything's now opened back up. Yeah. You know, it's like, you know, everybody's they're in famine mode. It's like, dude, let's fill the cards. Let's get workers in. Like, and me, you know, coming from service industry, you know, being a bartender and a server, bro, like, it's a revolving door. And especially now because people figured out, like, oh, like, and as a bartender, and I say this as politely as I fucking can, but like we figured out, like, oh, these employers, they can't fucking take advantage of us anymore.
Right.
So now they're panicking, trying to get anybody in there.
Yeah.
So, and I kind of don't blame the employers either, because it's like, well, shit, they've been sitting pretty for so long because everybody's kind of willing to accept what they got.
Yeah.
And now everybody figured it out after COVID came back. It's like, no, you really do fucking need us.
Oh yeah.
So now people are kind of either taking advantage or they're creating opportunity. I don't know. Like it's kind of hard to blame either side.
No, yeah. I mean, and it is. I mean, even now, like I mean, I like I said, I'm a contractor. I deliver furniture for a few stores here in town, and I talk to the managers, and and they're like, man, people quit, man. Like you told somebody like, hey, do a cart run, and they get mad and leave. And I'm like, and they're like, oh, well, I was hired for register. I don't do that. And it's like, and it's kind of like you said, is it bad or good? I mean, it's like, I mean, they're milking it at that level for me personally, but if you're there to work, you got to work. I mean, and I'll say this, bro, because I mean, I used to be a supervisor at Academy Sports, and I was never a manager, but I was always put in that position where I had a lot of power, man. Like, they'd be like, you don't want him, fire him, hire somebody else. Here's the paperwork, start calling people. And one of the things I would always tell people, I said, look, man, I said, you applied. I mean, I'm here at the store. The pay is $9.50 an hour. I mean, you're going to be working weekends. You're going to be working holidays. Is that a problem? Oh, well, I don't know. Okay, well, thank you. And I will hang up. Yeah. And I was blunt, but I was like, you know what? I want somebody that's going to understand. Like, yeah, man, it's retail, bro. Like, you have to be here on the weekends. You have to be here in the evenings because that's when people are shopping, right? And that's one of the things now, man. I mean, my kids, I'm fortunate to say they still have their jobs. They're still holding on to their jobs, but it's I always tell them, man, know your worth. If you're gonna go somewhere and you don't know shit, and you're like, hey, well, I'm gonna learn. Okay, well, you know what? You're gonna start at 10 or whatever pay and learn. And then once you learn, you start asking for more money, or you go somewhere else, with the experience. But for kids to like just start dropping jobs left and right, man, it's a bad feel. They're gonna burn bridges. Nobody's gonna hire you after a while because they're gonna look your resume up and be like, man, you've had like 10 jobs in 1 year. Like, what's going on? Is it you or is it the company? It's like you kind of have to pick your fights, man. I mean, working at the post office, even then, I was there with the company, 15 years, and I mean, we got paid well. Even then, bro, we had employees that were bitching and crying that they didn't want to do something because that's not what they're getting paid for. And I'm like,
government entity too, like you're a government employee.
Yeah, but my thing, it's like even then, like they would tell me, oh, hey, Garay, we need you over here. Go help so and so, and I'm like, hey, man, I said, dude, that's everything went by seniority. So when I was there, like 3, 4 years, 5 years, I started pulling seniority because I'm like, hey, get the new guy, or get that lady. She just started, get her. And it came to the point to where they were like, oh, they can't do it. It's too heavy. And I'm like, hey, we all signed up for this. If they can't do it, they got to go somewhere else. Like, literally. I mean,
it's part of the job description, right? Like,
exactly, bro.
Can you lift 50 pounds?
Yeah.
Put yes on that application.
Can you stand 8 hours or more? Can you? And yeah, it's on freaking black and white. They didn't read it. That's on them. Tell them to go work at somewhere sitting down. And it's brutal, but it's like, if not, I mean, it happened more than once where I was left by myself because nobody else could do it. And then there I am doing like 3, 4 people's jobs, and I'm like, you know what? That's not right, man. But for that reason alone, I say, yeah, man. I mean, definitely, if you're out there, you're applying for work, know your worth. If you're new to a business or a trade, then learn it and then go from there, But don't assume, I guess, people owe you everything, because nobody. Like I even tell my kids, man. I mean, I'm brutal when I'm like, look, nobody owes you shit. Nobody cares about you. You got to do for yourself. You got to stabilize, find what you're comfortable with, and then grow with it, But I mean, that's life, man. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's just me. Maybe, I know.
Maybe we're old, bro.
Yeah, because a lot of kids now are getting pampered. I've noticed even in my job description when I'm out there and like a lot of these, and I see kids, bro, but they're like 30, 40, and they're like, oh, my parents paying for it. Oh, well, that my mom bought it. Oh, and I'm thinking like, man, I mean, parents, I don't know if it's a guilt trip on their end, but they're still babying these men and women up to a certain extent, and I'm like, dude, that's bad. That's wrong, man.
And there's and it's funny, like you bring that up, and what it reminds me of is like something I told my daughter, and I think it is we are spoiling them a little bit more and more. Like I've always told I'm like, man, honey, you never have to leave. You can stay with daddy all the time.
You're the problem, bro. No.
Yeah. Like, but it's I think as a parent, especially because. Like prior to our parents, mine or your parents.
Right.
Like my parents are still very like they throw help out there without us even asking. Like I don't have to ask. Like I'm not, mom, can you buy it? But I think part of it too is, and this might just bleed into a whole other conversation, but the cost. People always talk about minimum wage, inflation, pay, all this other stuff. Now, what I've read, and I'm no fucking financial expert, you know what I mean? Like, I worked in a bank for nearly 10 years, but it doesn't make me an expert by any means. But what from what I've read on online and everything, again, what we're talking about, you have all the information in front of you. The rate of pay versus the rate of inflation from a percentage it's it hasn't caught up like at all.
Yeah.
Like I think the inflation rate is something like 70% growth, whereas our rate of pay for cost of living is barely grown by like 20-30%.
Yeah.
So I'm like, damn. So like I think maybe, I don't know if you've ever seen all those memes, as like, you know, like how the boomers ruined it for everybody because they busted the real estate bubble. Like they took out all that lending. Now we're all in debt.
Yeah.
And it is a victim mentality to be like, well, blame it on them. But it's like, it doesn't mean you can't do anything about it. I don't know. Like, and like you said, it's like, man, when you're starting work, you kind of got to take what you can get.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I even told some of my fighters that, like, some of them were trying to make demands and stuff, even at a pro level. When you're just starting off as a pro, or you're small fries, and you know with all these promotions out there and the big fish out there, bro, don't start making demands. I go, you're lucky to get a pro fight.
Yeah.
You're lucky to get a fight.
Yeah.
You can't pick and choose. If you get an opportunity, either you take it or you pass it up. That's just it, because they have another line of guys.
Oh yeah, bro. There's like hundreds of people waiting just to fight,
chomping at the bit just to go. So if you get an opportunity, you should probably take it. Which is why I'm taking this fight.
No, you see, and then a lot of it too, man. We talked about sponsorship. I mean, you know, and the same thing, man. Even the younger generation now, like I always tell them, and we talked about it earlier, man. It's build a brand. You know, build yourself up. You know, get on social media. I mean, you're already on social media, so why not just like, oh yeah, and by the way, you know, check out my sponsors, or just share their page, man. That's all they're asking for. I mean, of course, when it comes to promotions, I mean, you talked about this as far as you know, like the kids now, or the younger generation now, they're more like, hey, they need us. You know, with the promotions, it's kind of the same thing. I mean, they need fighters to fill it up, but at the same time, we need the platform. Yeah. You know, so it's like, hey, we need to take out these promotions, man. Make sure they make it to where they can have a third installment, fourth, fifth, you know, keep going, man, because it's a different platform. It's a more opportunity for more fighters. I mean, here locally, I mean, of course, you know, you mentioned Tama. I mean, we had, you know, Chris, we had Tama back then, you know, Thornsberger, of course, pulling that. We had PCG, you know, after from New Braunfels that was here, you know, that was coming along. Chris Lopez, man, from Houston. He's actually starting an amateur promotion here this year. And Chris, I think it's Lopez Sports Entertainment. That's what it's called, man. He's still waiting for like the state to approve like paperwork and all. But that's going to be an amateur circuit, and I'm all for it, man. Especially living here in town, dude. I mean, I'm a huge fan of MMA, but I'm a bigger fan of helping people out. You know, and it's I mean, you know, I wish we had like fight promotions here in town, honestly. You know, because there's enough fighters. Yeah. You know, we could literally have a fight every weekend and still have enough people to pull in and you know, have a fight card, man. So I'm looking forward to that, man.
Yeah, I think here, like a promotion like that you said with Chris Lopez, that's going to bring it a lot more localized. Right. People will see, and we'll get to be like a place like in California, it's like that. There's a fight every weekend. Doesn't matter, either amateur or pro. You'll find one. No, yeah. I think here that could be like that, man. And yeah, like you said, like having more fights here would make it so much easier, because it's tough to travel. Oh yeah, bro. At an amateur level, you're paying all out of pocket. Yeah. You're lucky if they pay for your hotel room. At a pro level, like, you're lucky if they pay for your travel. They might get your hotel room and you'll get a small check, but you're lucky if they pay for
they'll take it out of your purse, of course, you know. So
they'll pull it like, oh, hey, you know, we got your hotel room, we're taking that. Oh, come on, man. So, you know, it's, you know, I've seen that happen. You know, we've been around the game long enough to see that. So it's having something a lot more localized, especially starting with AMIs, and then let it develop and start putting pro-am cards. Like,
no, exactly. And that's, I think that's his mentality. I think he's starting with amateur, and then, of course, later on putting, you know, doing both, man, because I mean, Fury FC is doing it. I don't think that many promotions, even back then. And I kind of always wondered. I know it's a different licensing when it comes to pro, because now you got to pay more and you need more insurance and all that. So it gets a little bit more expensive, of course. But even PCG, I always wondered, like, man, they should do a pro card, or at least have like a main event pro card, you know, like to where it would have brought in more fighters. I know, I mean, Cowboys Dance House has always been big for MMA. I mean, that's where Legacy's been there. Yeah. Back in the day, man, I bring up, and it was Combate Extremo, I think was the name of the promotion, now that I think of it. But it was this guy from Mexico or somewhere, and he brought in a cage fight, and so he had like a freaking commercials, man, on the TV, and it's like Combate Extremo, and they show all these guys bare knuckle and vale tudo, and I'm like, oh shit, like seriously, like I was like, damn, dude, they're gonna really have this. Like I was like, yeah, you know, I was already in the sport, and I was like, but I was just like, dude, this is crazy. Like old school. Like, yeah, so we get there. No gloves. And so we get there, and like the promoter's like, yeah, hey, and I saw him, and I asked him, and I said, hey man, is this bare knuckle? Oh no, it's open hand. And I'm like, well, you're selling it like a bare knuckle freaking vale tudo fight, man. And like the fights start, And right off the bat, the bell rings, and these guys are right here freaking palm strikes. And everybody's like, what the fuck? I mean, people go crazy, man. Like, everybody starts laughing, and they start talking shit, and I was just like, damn, dude.
It's a bad look.
No, yeah, it was, man, because people were like, man, what the hell? They're over here slapping each other. What's going on? And everybody's drinking, so, of course, they're already talking smack and all that. But yeah, man, it's definitely, it was bad, dude, and it was just, like, it was awkward. You know, I mean, there was a lot of good fighters on that card, but it's just the fact that he, like, promoted it the way he did, it was just wrong.
Yeah, and see, stuff like that hurts the scene, especially locally. You know, like PCG brought that. They were great, man. Like, I remember they were on, like, when I was at Spartan Pit, we had guys constantly fighting for them.
Oh yeah, bro, and that was a time when, I mean, it was a good time. Even now, there's enough gyms here, like I said, dude, even for like grappling tournaments, they come into town and boom, 10 gyms, you know, signed up, and
get busy.
You know, small towns around San Antonio coming in to compete, so it's good, man. But I mean, yeah, you know, I mean, I wish Fury was here every month. Hell, you know, with Chris Lopez, you know, bringing his promotion, I hope they're here every month. I mean, that's how much I feel like, yeah, there's enough fighters that'll come from Corpus, that'll come from Seguin, from Austin, to come over here and compete, because even like Austin hasn't had. They've had it worse. You know, they've had promotions pop up and then they're gone. You know, I know King of Combat was there for a bit, for a few installments.
Yeah, they go belly up pretty quick over there. I
bro.
think maybe it's just the scene out there. I don't know.
It's one of those things like San Antonio, man. I always tell people, man, like San Antonio, we like to party. We like to celebrate. But if it's in the wrong day or the wrong time, like they won't. If there's a event going on with boxing or something. Yeah, exactly. You know, you kind of fail, man. I know. I always tell people, even with Combate Global, I mean, they were here, Combate Americas, of course, back then, but they were here twice, and they didn't make it, man, because both times they were just bad timing.
Didn't they come during Fiesta one time?
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, everyone's puro pinche party.
I know, and I was like, dude, they should have just had it at the La Villita, you know, or somewhere. I mean, people already.
Event.
Yeah, and that would have been smart, because now, you know what, we didn't sell tickets, but we got like 10,000 or plus people here, man, and Bellator, the same thing. They came into town. Majestic Theater, wrong choice. Yeah, you know, it was on a Thursday, wrong choice. And one of the things I remember talking to the old promoter from Bellator when I was there, and he was like, "Man, what's going on? Like, why is nobody here?" And I said, "Man, and I told him, I said, San Antonio, man, I said, we love to party, bro, but not on the weekday, not during the week, man. I said, it should have been on Friday, bro.
Even the Mexicanos, dude, they're at work Monday through Friday.
I know, exactly, man. You know, and it's hard.
They're at work, man. And
so it's, you know, and I told him, and I was just like, man, but I mean, that was the contract they had with the TV time, so it had to be on Thursday, and that's why it happened that day. But it was just bad, bro. Because even as a fighter, man, I mean, would you be comfortable fighting on a Wednesday?
No, like usually, like I'm in like, okay, I gotta work, I gotta go teach. I'm not trying to cut weight, you know, Monday, Tuesday,
and then go to work the next day and be like,
because it's like the gym, like, you know, let's take for example, I got a fight scheduled on Thursday. Like, man, I gotta cut weight Monday through Wednesday. I gotta fight Thursday, and then I gotta wake up banged up or not and go teach again on Friday. I'm not about to do that, bro. I want a few days off.
No, you see, and that's kind of, I always ask fighters, because even with Fury FC, they have their shows on Sunday. Yeah. And I'm always like, man, like Sundays, I'm like, I want to mow the lawn and go inside and put my feet up, man. Yeah. Like, I mean, as a fighter, I'm sure you guys don't train Sundays, at least not to the point to where you're out there like striking or doing.
Yeah, I know some guys who do, but for the, like, I'll use just myself as an example. That's my only real day off.
Yeah.
My only real day off. Like, Monday through Friday, I'm at the gym full time.
Yeah.
And then Saturday, my morning's filled up with clients. And then if I have time, I'll get my own training in after that. And then Saturday evening through Sunday, that's my only real time off. Other than that, it's go from Monday morning through Friday.
No, you see, and that's why I always ask, man, because some of the fighters that, I guess, they don't think about it, but as a fighter, I mean, if you had to fight Sunday, you would think, okay, you know what, I'm going to start sparring on Sundays, just so that you can mentally be like,
yeah, come
Sunday, fight day, I'm ready. You know, one of the things, even like when I was covering Bellator, man, I remember being backstage, and a lot of the fighters were laying back resting, and because of the timing, the show, like I remember, for example, Andrew Chappelle. I was back there, you know, we were just kicking back in between fights, and he's still laying down, and they're like, hey, get ready, and he's like, what? Like, I'm not on to the next, no, you're next. And he was all like, he wasn't warmed up, so he starts getting up and starts, you know what I mean? And it showed in this fight, because he fought and he won the fight, but you could tell he kind of lagged out, dude. Like, yeah, like it was just like one of those things. Like, it's like, man, like you kind of.
I mean, yeah, I like Fury as a promotion. Like, I like the cards they put on, but yeah, it always did strike me as a little strange that they had it on Sundays. But I mean, to be honest with you, it is working. They get people out there. Well, like, it's working. Like, I if it's not broke, I wouldn't fix it.
Right.
Because, like, you know, I think a lot of it maybe is just the timing of, like, venues being able to get the booking, being able to get there, and especially the cost, man. Like, coming out of, again, I think a lot of it's coming out of COVID, man. Like, everything's either super expensive or super cheap. There's, like, no middle ground.
No, yeah, and I'm pretty sure some of it has to do with the TV time. The UFC Fight Pass, of course, now they have to be like, okay, well, this is the time slot that we have, so I'm pretty sure that's what they're dealt with.
Yeah, that's
but I mean, them being on UFC Fight Pass, of course, man, it's a good thing. I mean, it's a bigger window for not just others to, you know, other promoters to watch you, because even I've seen it happen before, man, where you lose a fight and you're still getting calls. Cause a promoter saw you and they're like, hey, man, like, we have a fight. Show. Yeah, like, we have you next month, you know, boom, and they line it up, and that's it's a good thing, man. I mean, of course, you know, for those that want to stay busy, you know, it's a good opportunity. So, but with that being said, man, I mean, this next fight, of course, you're making your pro debut. I mean, are you nervous? Are you anxious? I mean, what's your mentality going? I mean, is it going to get worse come fight week? Or
I always do get pretty nerve-wracked. But, like, the thing I just tell myself, and it's, you know, it's fuck it. So it's something that I picked up a real long time ago. And it was one of those bullshito gyms. Oh. But it was something that always stuck with me. I don't know if you ever heard of Bujinkan. No. So there's a legitimate school of ninjutsu from Japan that you can trace all the way back there.
Oh, okay.
Like literally family tree. They actually had a school here in San Antonio, and I was like, cool. And I was like 11, 12. I wanted to go check it out.
Oh, damn.
And it's like a little ninjutsu school. But a lot of it was like some judo and aikido and hand-to-hand, some short weapons training, stuff like that. So it was actually kind of practical. But one of the things that's always stuck with me is they had these tenets posted on a wall, like some rules that you should follow. Right. And one of the first ones is, when you're assigned a mission, assume you're already dead.
Oh, damn.
So you have no fear of going into it. So like that kind of mantra, I just kind of repeat. I was like, well, assume you already fucking been killed. The worst that's gonna happen is you get knocked the fuck out. Not a big deal.
Damn, I'm gonna use that when I go to the buffets, bro. Wait in line and be like, hey, I'm already dead, man. Let's go. No, that's actually pretty freaking good, man. I like that. I'm gonna start using that.
Yeah, it's something that's always stuck with me, man. Like, of course, I get nerve-wracked. If somebody tells you they're not nervous, I think a lot of them are probably bullshitting you.
No, yeah, I'm pretty sure, man. Especially fight week, everybody wants to be tough and be like, oh, man.
For me, I just try and get myself to a level of anxiety that's not unbearable.
Yeah, and like earlier too, man, you were talking about anxiety, man. I mean, that's something that, I mean, you deal with, I deal with. I mean, and it's out there. Yeah, you know, people deal with it differently, of course, but for me, I mean, honestly, man, it's gotta be eating, bro. I ain't gonna lie, man. It helped me relax and, you know, watching TV, just going, you know, we talked about the same thing, going home and unwinding. I'm a big movie buff when it comes to like horror films and sci-fi, and you know,
I love horror films.
Yeah, man.
I'll fall asleep to Dawn of the Dead or something like
that. Yeah, exactly, bro. And then you wake up and you put it back on, man.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I fell asleep halfway through, started over.
You see, and my thing, man, and I'll say this, bro. My girl's like, oh man, you watch that movie every day, and I'm like, it's that good, you know? Like, hey, I'll watch it every week, man, and it's gotta be good, man. I mean, obviously, new movies, man. Have you? Talking about movies, the Spiderman movie. Have you gone to watch it?
I have not gone to watch it. And it's funny because the first wave of people, like friends of mine that went to go see it, they're blown away. They go, it's badass, it's awesome. And then I'm slowly seeing these trickles of people like, it's okay. And I was
you see, and that's what I hate, bro, because
like, are you being a hater, or is it really like not as good as everybody says?
Yeah, you don't want me to go watch it? What's going on?
I don't know, man. Like this, I'll probably still go watch it. The one I was pretty excited for was Matrix. I really would like to see a new good horror movie, but they just all been.
They're turned into comedies, man. Or they turn into something that were towards the middle of the movie. I'm like, okay, is this a comedy, or is this, you know? And it's a lot of them get killed. You know, I'm old school, man. I want to see the man in the freaking Godzilla costume. I want to see real life. I'm not real big into graphics or CGI, man. And it's just like, you know, when it comes to that, dude, I can't watch it too long, man. But if it's like...
Yeah, and that, like for me, that's why I started gravitating a little bit to more like the indie films. Not necessarily like art house where it doesn't make any sense. Yeah. You know, like, I'm like, dude, this is just weird for the sake of weird. There's no tracking to it. But like, one of the good horror movies that I seen that was an independent one was this movie called The Void. Came out, I want to say, about 4 or 5 years ago. Probably maybe longer than that. It's called The Void, and it was just something so different, so cool. and they used a lot of practical effects. Like, it was almost like an homage to like Hellraiser and like the 80s.
Oh, nice! I gotta check that out now, man.
Yeah, it's called The Void. It was on Netflix for a while, but man, I love that fucking movie, especially too because it's Lovecraftian. I don't know if you know who H.P. Lovecraft is.
Yeah.
He's my favorite author. Dude. Like, I have that giant book of his entire collected works, even those weird poems that he wrote that are before. But I love anything that's Lovecraftian. So like The Void. Fucking
you're like, I gotta watch it.
Dude, it hit it right on the nose too, man.
That's cool. I gotta see
so
that.
badass. Yeah, man. I would definitely recommend that one.
You see, and for me, man, honestly, I remember even like that Godzilla movie got remade. Or I mean, they keep remaking all these old movies, and I'm not a fan of remakes. I mean, I'd rather, like with the Ghostbusters, of course. For example, they bring it back, and I haven't seen the last one that came out, but. I kind of don't want to, man. I mean, once if it's an original, you know what? You use that concept and make your own storyline. Like they bury it and kill it and redo it, and it's just after a while, like I don't like them, dude. It's just I'm not a fan of remakes, but I mean, what's one movie? Let me ask you this: what's one movie out there that you wouldn't mind being redone, like today?
Oh, damn it! I just had this conversation with my wife. So actually.
Yeah, one phone call, bro. No, I'm just joking.
I know, right? Like, honey, what's that movie we were talking about? So it's an old movie, and it's actually a Tom Cruise movie, and Tim Curry's in it. You ever heard that movie Legend from the 80s?
Oh, dude, yes.
I think that one.
Oh, damn.
But they gotta keep it like that real deep fantasy, like totally removed from the normal. They can't ground it too much. It has to stay out there. Like I remember growing up with that movie, and I was like, man, that would be a pretty badass remake.
That would be, and that's a good movie though.
Yeah, I forgot it's hard to want to touch it, but like I still watch it. Like, I haven't downloaded everything on my.
Damn, I forgot about that. I'm gonna have to watch it now because I know
I was gonna say I might watch that when I get home today.
Yeah, I mean, heck, why not, man?
And I think another one. Okay, and they've done it already, but they've only halfway succeeded. Is Hellraiser? That's like one of my favorite horror movies of all time. Like, my Twitch stream is Cenobite. Like that's the name of the Hellraiser and the Cenobites.
Yeah.
They've redone it twice, and the one that they did okay with was the one called Hellraiser Judgment.
I've seen that.
The beginning part's badass. That interview when he's just torturing that child molester. Oh, dude, I love that.
Oh yeah. Like, see, there was one. And I'd have to go back and look at it because I still have VHS tapes, bro. I still got my
mom
shit.
Does too. She has some of my
and so I keep them. I have a like Blockbuster freaking shelves and shit. I mean, I go back there and it's like my time capsule. Like I go back there and I've got my record player, my CD player, and I just go back there and get lost. But
hell yeah.
But I had seen one of the Hellraiser movie. I think it was the last one actually that was on VHS. I don't remember which number it was. But I threw it on. I hadn't seen it, and it was gory as shit, dude. Like I watched it, and I had to stop. Like I was like, "Oh crap, dude!" Like it was like it got a little too much, bro. And I can stand horror when it comes to like somebody's. I don't know. It's kind of dumb to say, but somebody's here to kill you. Okay, he's in a mask. It's a murder. But like some of this stuff was just really out there, bro. To where I was just like, okay, yeah, I can't watch this. My kids come and watch movies, and I was one of the ones that I had to kind of put away because I was like, man, I don't want them. But yeah, man, there's some stuff out there that's pretty wild, man. I mean, a lot of the indie films, of course, they catch you with that gore, and some of it's like, damn, I can't watch it, bro. I ain't gonna lie.
I'm not gonna lie. That's my shit, man. Like, if it horrifies my friends and stuff like that, and they can't watch it, I'm like, okay, now I have to watch it.
Yeah, you're like, y'all go sit in the back.
Yeah, just go back there with the kids. I'll be alright.
You see, and then man, and it's just one of those things that I don't know. Even growing up, I mean. I remember jumping on the bus, going downtown. The first time I ever got on the bus, it was me and a friend from school. We were like 8 or 9. And my dad's like, yeah, jump on the 74. We lived on the west side. You get off, I forgot where he told us to get off. And then you walk, and the Aztec Theater's there. And I'm like, okay. He's like, when you get out of the movies, walk across the street, you catch the same bus back. And that was our instructions. Like, we were 8, 9, we got on the bus, and we're like scared as shit, so we went. And the first movie that I saw by myself like that was Shud. And I remember going, and me and my friend were like we were scared, and we were kind of like, because even now, I mean, we are downtown, man, but I mean, back then as a kid, dude, like I remember like we got out of the movies and we walked to the little bridge for the river walk, and we were like, damn, let's go downstairs, and we were scared to go walk down there, and we didn't,
Did you see the Chud down there?
yeah, no kidding, man. It was just like one of those things, but it's just, I mean, It's one of those things like now, like there's no way in hell, especially even recently, man. You had all these kid abductions, happening.
Yeah, that little 3-year-old girl, that happened literally around the corner from my apartment.
Yeah, bro.
We didn't even let our kids play outside anymore. Like, we lived in an apartment complex where we kind of had like a little neighborhood. Like, we knew all our neighbors. The kids all played outside. I just opened the windows. Oh, I can see them. They're fine. And I didn't worry about it. And that was like, 8-9 years ago.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, no, I don't want y'all outside.
No, yeah, and it happens.
Play outside, you're going to grandma's, you're playing in the backyard.
And I will say this, man, because being a contract delivery driver now, like I deliver to a lot of, I guess, internationals that are coming in here, refugees. And a lot of them, every time I'm out there, the kids are out.
Yeah.
Like literally, they're just running around like nothing. And I'm thinking, and I personally, even it wasn't until like this week that I was thinking like, damn, dude, like it's something that, obviously they shouldn't be doing, because if it's not somebody that's from here or another refugee or whatever the case may be, it's not safe, man. I've been out there where I see like 2-3-year-olds and I'm like, and I start honking because I'm like, where's the freaking kid's parent? And I see him running out and I'm pointing like, hey, that's your kid. Like, it's pretty bad, man. But of course, as parents, man, I will say this, man. Like I've since my kids were little, if we go to the park, like if they went to the bathroom, I went to the bathroom. Yeah. That was our rule. It was just like, you gotta pee. Okay, you and your sister gotta go. Yeah. Well, I don't have to go that well. You go stand next to her or something, But that was a rule. But even growing up, man, like 8-9 years ago, man, and going to the park, the same thing. Like I wouldn't be on my phone. I'd have to watch them, and they both took a take off, and I'm like, hey, go with your sister, because it was one of those things like split second, man. You're 30 seconds, you're concentrating on one kid, boom. You never know.
And it's funny you bring that up too, because we do live in a complex now where there's a lot of like Mediterranean families there, because we live right by where they have those Mediterranean shops,
right,
like Pasha and all that stuff. So there's a lot of those families out there. And one thing that me and my wife noticed, like, and they're not bad kids, but their kids are always out by themselves. And I mean, like, it's like an 8-9-year-old, and they're holding like an infant, like it's like somebody.
Yes, bro.
And they're just outside, and the sun's going down. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing out here? And there's times, I hate to say it, man, but like, sometimes I'll be I'll wake up and I'm watching TV, and it's like 2-3 in the morning, right? I hear these kids outside, and they're playing, and I'm like,
damn,
what are they doing? And they're out in the street, like. For the most part, all their community's there.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, I guess they feel pretty safe. But it just, again, that 3-year-old little girl that was just kidnapped, bro.
Yeah.
And that community, within blocks of us.
Yeah.
And they're always out, and like mostly me and my wife are like kind of worried they're gonna get hit by a car. Like my wife will, typical Hispanic woman, walk out there, hey, get out the street, and not even her kid.
With a sandal in one hand.
Yeah, not even her kid, and I'm like, why you doing to somebody else's kids?
Yeah, but as a parent, you have to kind of have to, man.
Yeah. Like. Even me, man, like one of them fell down coming off the bus. Like, went over there and helped him. Not even my kid.
Yeah,
like,
bro.
What do I do? My knee's falling. She's a little teenager. I go, wrap it up with my sign, be fine. They're like, it feels better. Like, it's just weird to see them just so unsupervised. Now, don't get me wrong. Me and you growing up, what was our rule? By the time the lights came on the street, right? So we're kind of, just kind of running amok until then.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It just feels different.
Yeah.
It feels different now. Like, there's not a sense of neighborhood now. Like. My mom, like back then, my mom didn't have to worry about where I was. If she didn't know where I was, she'd call one of the neighbors, like, oh yeah, Steven's over here. Because you hung out with your friends and you knew their parents and everything.
No, yeah.
Now it's like, where the fuck's my kid at? They're not answering their cell phone. I don't know who this kid's parents are, so I don't know who to contact. It just it feels, as much connection as we have, it's that thing where it's that kind of cliche saying, it's like, as connected as we are, we're real disconnected. There's no real sense of community anymore.
Yeah. And that's weird that it happens like that, because even now, like growing up when my kids were little younger, their mom would, when I was with their mom, of course, that she'd be like, oh, her friend wants to come over for the weekend, and I'm like, no. Yeah. Oh, she wants. I said, no. I said, I'm not gonna have that. Well, can she stay over there? And I'm like, no. And I was real stern with that, because I was just like, no, man, I don't know her parents. I don't know who she's with. Yeah. I said, no. I said, I'm not gonna allow it. And then my kid hated me for it, or her mom hated me for it, but I'll stand my ground, man, because even now, like it's like I would always tell her, man, if it wasn't her mom babysitting, with the kids were little, it was me. It was me watching my kids. Yeah. Or vice versa. Like I would always tell her, if you're gonna go on a date, go on a date. But you know what? Let me know. I'll go pick up my kids. Yeah. Or come drop them off. I said, you do what you got to do, but
I don't trust babysitters. I don't trust
bro. And then
daycares, there's horror stories.
And even people always say, even like with the police and everything, they say when there's a crime, more than likely it's gonna be somebody that you know. And it's true, man, and it's scary to think, but there's times where I wouldn't even let my you know what I mean, just because it's like, you know what, I'm off work, I'll watch them. Yeah. Why wouldn't I watch them, right? But yeah, man, it's a scary situation, man, and I hope they find her. I will say this, man, because when I was a mailman, I worked right there off of Fredericksburg and where the Pop and Go used to be at, like the old school right there. And those apartments have always been the same thing. They were, I don't want to say they've been bad apartments. It's just they were always like I guess lower cost living, you know, as far as, you know,
lower income area.
Yeah, there you go. That's the word.
You don't know who's coming in and out.
Right, exactly, man.
Because it's right there at Blue Mill and Fredericksburg.
Yeah, bingo. Yeah, you see, and so one day I was, you know, I drive up to my mailbox and you know I get off and there's a bunch of cops bro everywhere, and police officer comes up and he's like, "Hey, is this your regular route?" And I'm like, "No, I'm doing a kickoff," which is basically the guy was off or he couldn't finish it, so they gave me his route or that part, but And I was like, "What happened?" And he's like, "Oh, there was a child abduction." And I was like, "Oh man!" And when I saw her on the news, it was the same kid that I would always see by the like running around by herself, man. And I was just like, "Oh, dude, crap!"
Heartbreaking.
And it's luckily enough they did find her like later because they went crazy with it. It was all over the news, of course. You know, it's everywhere, man. And a week like into it, they found her like in some remote street out there going towards New Braunfels or Seguin. And the guy that took her was a registered sex offender and shot himself, dude. And it scares me because I'm like, if he wouldn't, maybe he was obviously fighting his own demons, so he couldn't, you know what I mean, couldn't go through with whatever he was thinking, and you know, took the coward way out and blasted himself, man. But it just, you know, it's like not all of them happen like that, man. I mean, this kid that's out there, man, I hope to God somebody finds her, man, and they find her alive and well.
Yeah, me too, man. It sucks because I see these kids every day, like at my neighbor, and my wife works for the school district, so a lot of the kids she sees at work, bro. At Clark, right there, we see them when we come home. So like we said, I'm like, man, like just seeing them so unsupervised makes me nuts. Like my daughter has a few friends that we know their parents are actually good friends with their parents,
right?
So they can come stay with us, or they go stay with them. Like usually I like them having to come stay with me, like
right,
like you know what I mean. I'm like, I'd rather them be here. I'm pretty lenient. They can run amok. I don't give a shit. They love Uncle Steven. Like, they know when they're here. I'm not gonna cook. They're like, what do y'all want? You want some pizza? Because I'm not making y'all shit.
No, right. They're like, yeah, we're gonna eat pizza today.
Yeah, they're getting junk food and scary movies all weekend with me.
Man. You see, that's not bad. I can deal with that, bro. Yeah. I'll go over one day, man. But yeah, man. But you know, and that's a good thing, man. Because and one of the things I want to bring up too, man, it's even somebody I posted on social media a long time ago, but they were saying like, you know what, that one lady that's going into her vehicle, like keep an eye on her, man, because you know, but somebody has to, man, and like you know, same thing going back to what I do, man. There's times where I park outside the stores that I work with because you know I'm on chill time or I'm waiting for a call. And I notice, I just sit there and I'll eat my lunch or whatever, and I'll see, you know, and I keep an eye out for people. Or I see somebody walking by and they start snooping and I honk, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, hey, dude, keep it moving, man. Like, because it's those times that we're vulnerable. We don't expect anything. And, you know, I see a woman coming out with 10 bags and I don't ask them for help if they need help anymore because sometimes it startles the shit out of them.
Yeah, but they're like, "What, you think I can't?"
Exactly,
do? Like, okay,
bro.
I'm not trying to be rude.
Yeah, so it's one of those. But I'll keep an eye on her, you know, and I'll kind of like I don't make it obvious because I don't want them to think I'm, you know. But I'm like, okay, you know what? And I look at the surroundings. But there's times out there, man, where I've stopped people from breaking into cars. I've stopped people from. One day I was outside one of the stores and I was eating my lunch, man, and I was like, I had a delivery, but I was like, you know what? I got an hour. I said I'll get something to eat. And I see this guy coming out he had a jacket on and he's walking out and he's kind of like looking like kind of suspect, man. And I'm looking at him and I'm real big. I've done retail so long that I can spot him, dude. And I saw him and I was like, all right, this guy's up to something. And he goes up to his vehicle and he couldn't open his door. He's like chugging on it and he starts taking stuff out of his jacket and he starts putting it right in the back tire, you know, and I'm like, dude, this motherfucker just stole a whole bunch of shit from the store, right?
Yeah.
So I called the store and the manager's there and I said, hey man, I said, you gotta come out here, bro. And he's like, where you at? And I said, I'm parked. I said, just come outside, I'm gonna have my hazards on. So I put him on and he's walking up. I'm like, hey, wait, stop. And I point to the back and he doesn't see it. And so I get off and I'm like, hey, is that y'all shit? And he's like, what the fuck? Like, it was electronics and it was like a bunch of stuff. So he's like, who took it? And I said, well, the guy went back in there, bro. I said, just, you know, and you know, whether it's me being a snitch or not, dude, I hate fucking shoplifters, bro, and I despise them. I mean, you can't, you know, it's just me. I mean, but I mean, it happened, and I'm like, you know what?
It's not even about being a snitch. It's just like you hate scumbaggy people.
Yeah, bro.
I can't deal with someone who's real underhanded.
Yeah.
Or like manipulative, like just little shit like that. Like, you know, like I don't like seeing that shit either.
Yeah.
And you know, and you're right. You know, people are vulnerable at different times. Like, and it just. just recently, man. So like my apartments are a little laundromat is not on the same side as our buildings. It's across the street.
Oh, okay.
So I was at work one night. My wife was just kind of back and forth doing some laundry. My 14-year-old was there with my little one, so she was just kind of keeping an eye on him when he was taking a nap, so my wife could do laundry. My wife said some weird dude out of nowhere. She couldn't place his accent. She said he had a real thick accent. And my wife's little. She's 4'11". She's not big. Yeah. She's little. 115 pounds. Soaking wet. So she's doing laundry, and he just comes up to her and just kind of starts like not like in people at the laundromat talk to each other. It's sociable, but something threw her off, and like he was like asking her questions, and we had never seen him there before. We've already been there for almost a year.
Damn.
Where I was at the laundromat, and she goes like he was outside the building, the laundromat building, for kind of looking around, and she was like, "What the fuck's this guy doing?" Then he walks in with no laundry. He's like, "Oh, so where do you put the money?" She was like, "Oh, yeah, it takes a card, it doesn't take cash."
Oh, wow.
And then he is like, "Okay," and he starts asking her questions like, "What do you do for a living? Like, what do you do?" And she was like, "What the hell?" She goes, "I work for the school." And he's like, "Oh, well, how much do you make?" She's like, "I don't know. Like, what do you care?" She's like immediately put off by this.
Yeah,
dude.
Man.
She's like asking her, "How much do you make?" And she's like, "I don't know. Like, like what does it matter?" And he's like, "Well, what do you, what if I offer you more money to do this?" And she's like, "What the fuck is this dude asking me?" So then, luckily, one of the other residents walked in, and the dude and as soon as he walks in, the dude stops talking to her. So the other resident's there doing laundry, and the dude walks outside. She tells him, it's like, "Hey, can you hang out for a minute?" And the guy's like, "What?" And she goes, "That guy's really weirding me out." And he goes, "Oh, he's being creep." And, I was at work. I was stuck at the gym. I didn't even know until I got home. I was like, "What the fuck?" So she goes, "Yeah, like he stayed." And as soon as that other creeper dude noticed that dude was staying there, he took off. I was like, who fucking knows what would have happened if that resident had walked in?
Oh, yeah, it's scary, man. I mean, because it's one of those things. So
I told her, I go, "Honey, you need to get comfortable with guns."
No, yeah, you see,
like it's sad to say,
yeah.
But she's not. So I was like, "Well, okay, we'll get another pit bull."
Yeah, no, dude, and I've seen that. I see where women go and they go to their mailbox with a dog, and I'm cool with it. I'm like, man, you know what? Take 2 dogs, hell, because I mean, I've got 2 kids, and God forbid. They're on the Patamobile, they're one skateboards to work, man, which is freaking cool, so she'll go to work, and I've told her, like, man, I'll get you, I wanted to get her one of those motorbikes, I told her, I said, that way, she doesn't want a car, so I said, I'll get you a motorbike. No, Dad, I'll skateboard, and I'm like, all right, cool. But yeah, I mean, they both have pocket knives, dude, and they're like that, and I'm like, I'm still kind of like, it's something, but my fear is like, okay, you take it out and it gets taken from you, and then what, so it's still a scary situation, man. But I always tell her, I said, with your skateboard, man, I said, look, you grab the trucks and you grab this, and I said, you just fucking, whack the shit out of people, man. Yeah, and I said, don't, and that's, as a parent, it's terrifying, because it's like, I mean, the last thing I want to hear is somebody call me and say, hey, this happened, or your daughter was assaulted or something, man.
Or all of a sudden, or even worse, you just don't hear from your kid.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're like, well, where the fuck are they at? No one's heard from them.
Yeah, you see, and that's one of those things, man. I mean, so parents out there, man, I mean, of course, look out for each other, man, each other's kids, the wives, of course, even the men, dude. I mean, since I've been here in San Antonio, man, I can honestly say I've stopped maybe like 3 or 4, like people from getting assaulted or getting mugged or because I'm just there and I see it in body language, and I stop, and the guys kind of confront somebody, and I start honking, and they kind of freak out and take off. Yeah. And I drive up to the guy, and I'm like, hey, are you good? And they're like, yeah, you know what I mean? And it happens, man. Even in broad daylight, I mean, a lot of people are desperate, so they don't give a shit. They might be on drugs, who knows, man? But it's just scary situation, man. I'm sure it's all over the world.
I'm sure we sound like typical San Antonio Hispanic dudes, all paranoid.
Man. But it's good, man.
It's a reality, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and for me, one of the things that happened with me, man, I went to go visit my oldest at work one day, and she works at a nutrition shop, and it was late in, the time changed, of course, so of course it got darker earlier. It was like 7:30, 8 o'clock, which was past my bedtime. But I went to go visit her, and I was like, hey, I can wait for you to get off work. And she's like, oh, my friend's picking me up. So I said, okay. So as I'm there, this other guy walks in, and I'm waiting because I was going to tell her goodbye and hug her, but he walked in, so I said, I'll wait. And I'm there, and I'm waiting for her, and I see the guy kind of like kept looking at me, and I'm like, the hell? So I'm like, all right, cool. And my daughter's still helping him, and I see him kind of like reach out to her, and my daughter's like, oh no, that's okay, that's my dad. And he was all like, and I heard it, but I kind of like, And so he's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm sorry, you know. And so I walked up and I said, well, do you mind if I say goodbye to her, man? I said, I'm sorry. I said, I'm her dad. And he's like, no, that's fine. I'm sorry, you know. So I told her, I said, hey, you know, I'll see you later. You know, call me when you get home or text me. And but it's one of those things that I'm kind of glad that happened.
Yeah.
Because I got to see it, and I'm like, well, these people are, you know,
looking out for her.
And I tell people, like, I'm the guy, like, I walk into Target or Walmart, which is rare these days because I hate freaking going to stores. But I walk in there, and as soon as I go in there, security's like on their shit, dude. And I'm like, dude, I have that face. I don't know if it's the beard, who knows, man. But it's just, and it happens, and it's one of those things. Like, I'm real. When it comes to meeting in person, man, I'm kind of like real hard off, dude. Like, I'm, you know, it's like I'm cool once I get to know you. I'm like, I open up and I joke a lot, but it's when I'm out there, people are always like, oh man, you look mad, or you looking. I'm like, man, I'm just hungry, bro.
yeah. Like, it's funny. One of my old coworkers, when I used to work at the bank, you know, there was team outings, and she told me that everybody was out. She couldn't find everybody. She was like, well, let me look for the asshole. And she saw me. And she goes, I was just looking for an asshole. I was like, oh.
Right there.
She goes, there they are. There's the rest of the team. But I don't know. But yeah, it's funny. Yeah, you walk into places, you immediately get a look or something.
Yeah.
And it's funny, even nowadays, you know, it's 2021. I still get weird looks for tattoos that show. Damn. Like, I still, like, so there's some places I'll go and I'm like, let me put on a hoodie or something. Like, or like even the color. Like, I have a old school red Spartan Pit hoodie that I still wear. I got it in my car. But it's bright red. Yeah. And I walk in and people.
Really? That's kind of.
Like, and it, you know, I can understand it just given that there are certain clubs around town that use that color. Right. You know, it's a bright red. It's real. It's, you know, it's a loud hoodie. But I'm like, come on, man. Like, do I look like a fucking gang member? Do I look like a hoodlum? Like, I don't know. Maybe I do.
Yeah, I was gonna say. You're asking me because I don't know if you want to hear that, man.
I know, right?
No, but you know, but that's the thing, man. Because even like San Antonio, man, of course, I mean, I went to high school, you know, I'll give up my age, but I was a sophomore, 89, 90, and Jefferson High School, man, I went there.
My parents went to Jeff.
Yeah, you see, and back then, when I went there, like, the gang mentality was fucking already building up. Yeah. And my sophomore year, I went there, and, like, people were rolling each other in the freaking yard, and I'm like, shit, I haven't even eaten breakfast yet, man. Like, I'm like, you know, at least wait till I get something to eat and shit, but it was, you know, I mean, of course, the colors back then, everybody, you wore the wrong hat and you got your ass beat, and it was crazy times, man. I mean, I can't see that now because even the other day, I was like, man, are there even gangs around? Like, I haven't.
Yeah, you don't see it, especially with the whole, like, if you wear the wrong hat. Like, you can kind of wear whatever you want now. I think it's a matter of, like, are you popping off at the mouth to the wrong person? Right. You know, like, and I think it's maybe just the older generation that I see that with. If I walk around wearing that bright red hoodie and then, like, I see it, and I'm like, oh, shit doesn't really exist that much anymore. Like, you can kind of wear whatever the fuck you want. No, but I'll get it from cops, though. Definitely cops. Really? Yeah. And I have friends who are law enforcement and stuff like that, but I do notice.
That's probably why, because they know you.
I know, right?
They're like, there's a guy right there.
They're like, there's this asshole right here. Go fuck with him. But I do notice, from cops. If I walk in somewhere wearing like a loud hoodie or something, you know, or I don't know. I think maybe too it has a lot to do with like we're in a pretty red state, pretty conservative. Yeah. You know, I walk around something that says Black Craft Cult with 666 on it or something.
Yeah, they're gonna be like, what
I get dirty looks, and I'm like, whatever, man.
You see, and that's kind of, I mean, even now, man, like when it comes to, because I drive around for a living and I'm all over the city, and I don't get nervous around officers. Like if I drive, I'm like, dude, I have my insurance, I got my license, I'm good. My stickers are up to date, you know, no biggie. but it's one of those things I kind of, like I see a police officer drive up and I kind of like salute him. I'm like, hey, you know, I give him a what's up or whatever. But it just reminded me of something because years back, I had my brother coming down from Florida, man. He was here for like a month. And like one day we're in the car and I'm driving him to work or somewhere. And we're at the light and he hits my arm and he says, hey, cop. And so I got fucking nervous, bro. Like I was all like, oh shit. And then I'm like, dude, I got my fucking license, bro. Like what the hell? And he was all like, oh, okay, I didn't know. And I was like, man, but it's funny because I think
it's that hood mentality going up like that.
Yeah, bro. Like, and even now, my brother, man, get your license, bro. He probably still doesn't have it, man. But it's just like one of those things where I think about that, and right when that happened, I look over and I forgot what hat I had on, and I kept thinking the worst. I kept thinking, oh, this guy's gonna think I'm stealing something. So I got nervous as shit, dude, and it was funny, but I mean it was funny, you know. It's just but yeah, now like I got pulled over. going to Hondo one time, and I'm actually going today. I'm probably gonna jinx myself.
I know, right?
But I got pulled over, and the cop was like, "Oh, your backlight something," and I'm like, "Okay." I said, "Well, I didn't notice it, you know." And I checked it, and it was on. But when I was driving, I kind of made eye contact, and I kind of like, hey, you know, and I looked in my rearview mirror, and I see him turn around quick, and I was like, "Oh, this is gonna pull me over." And sure enough, man, and I had like furniture in the truck, and you know, he's like, "Where are you going?" And I'm like, "Hey, I got my ticket." I said, "I'm dropping off the stuff. I work for a contract with this company." And they're like, "Oh, okay, with license registration." Yeah. Everything was good, you know, but it's just, I mean, you know, I was pulled over for looking Chicano, man. That's what it was.
I hate to say it. I go, so I for most of my encounters with police officers, I've never had an issue. They've all been pretty cool. As long as you don't give them shit, they don't give you shit.
Exactly.
But I have ran into it, and it happened to me one time when I was working at the bank. So I was at Chase. There's a big corporate office out there at Stone Oak. Okay. And I worked there for almost 10 years. And you know, it's back office, so I don't have regular hours. I used to work till like 11 at night. Damn. So I was leaving, and I was coming home. I'm driving through Stone Oak, and this fucking cop, right? And I'm driving. None of my headlights are out. My blinkers are on, and my taillights. Everything's fine on that car. Dude pulls, whoop, takes a turn around. I'm like, oh man, I'm not speeding. I know I'm not. Right? So this is during the time when a lot of like the excessive force stuff was coming out on social media and the news, where they're like, hey, cops are beating people. Oh crap! You know? You were so like, I was nervous. I was like, fuck, man. So I turn on the overhead lights. Yeah. Take off my seatbelt and put my hands on the steering wheel. Exactly, bro. So I just did that. This motherfucker, okay, and I hate to say it, but this motherfucker comes, unclips his gun right before he even gets to my car. And I'm like this, and he's got some fucking big old jacked up dude, Hispanic dude too. Yeah. He comes up to me and he goes, he's got his vest on and everything outside his uniform, so all you see is his back. I'm like, this guy fits fucking 50 Cent. Who is he? He goes, license registration, and then I go, hi, officer, and you know, I give it to him. He goes, what are you doing out here? I go, I'm heading home. He goes, well, where you come from? I go, work. He goes, where do you work? I go, Chase. He goes, it's 11 at night. What are you doing working at the bank? I go, I work back office. And I snapped at him. Yeah, dude. I was pissed. I was like, I go, fucking back office, you asshole. What the fuck do you know? You know what I mean? Yeah. He's like, oh, okay. He's like, I'll be right back. He goes, runs my license and everything checks out. And I go, can I ask why you stopped me? And he goes, oh, you matched the description of someone we're looking for. I go, I matched the description of someone you're looking for. Oh, shit. I go, what the fuck does that mean? He's like, have a good night. And I go, I think you're just looking at a Hispanic kid out here at Stone Oak, is what it was. Yeah. He didn't say nothing. I was being a smart ass. Normally I wouldn't do that, but I was tired. It was after a long ass shift. I was pissed, man. I go, who the fuck this guy did? Dude, and it would freak me out. I've never seen that happen. Most hours they come up to you pretty calm. They're cool. Yeah, bro. This guy unclips his gun, like he unbuttons his holster, and I was like, this, and he's walking up, and he's just like that. So and I'm like, ready. Bro, my overhead lights are on, my hands are up here. Yeah. No, yeah, you see, and that's smart. That's good you said that, because I do the same thing, man. As soon as they pull up, I mean, my registration is there, my license, I have it to where I can just reach it just for occasions or for anything. But yeah, man, as soon as they come up, I put my hands on the steering wheel and I wait for them to come up, dude. Like, I don't even take off my seatbelt. Like, I leave it. Yeah. I'll go back to that, but one day I was with a buddy of mine, and the cops, like, we're right there on the west side, dude. He was dropping me off. We cut to the street. He's following us, like, the down Commerce, and I'm looking in the rearview mirror, and I'm like, oh, that's like, dude, this cop's on us. And so we get to the street, and we turn, and whoo, turns his lights, and it's a dead-end street, right? And so we drive up to the house, and I get off, I take off my seatbelt, and I get off, and he's like, get back in your car, and I was like, what the fuck? And I'm like, dude, I said, I live right here, bro, and he's like, get back in your car, and like, he's like on the speaker, man, and I'm like, so I get back in the car, and my mom's outside, and I'm just like... She's like, what'd you do? Yeah, like, I was just like, my mom's just waiting, on the porch, and the guy comes up and gets my friend's license registration. He had taken off his seatbelt, and so we go through all this, bro, and the cop's like, all right, I'm gonna give you a ticket for no seatbelt, and he was like, I took it off to get my license, and he said, well, I didn't see that, so I'm gonna give you a ticket for no seatbelt. And I was just like, holy crap, dude! Like, I mean, it's like, even I still do that now. I mean, I haven't been pulled over in forever, man. Yeah. But I do that. Stuff like that. Like, I leave on, because I was just like, you know what, man? It's just why give them a reason for anything, man? Like, I can't afford that shit right now. Yeah, and I get it. They're stressed out. It's a thankless job. You know what I mean? Like, it's those guys deal with a lot. No, they do, man. I mean, it's part of the same thing. That's what they sign up for, man. I mean, they need. I know it's been getting better. I mean, we have Richard Odoms. I brought him here the other day, man, and he's a good guy. Yeah. No, yeah, man, and every time I get pulled over, I use his name, bro. I'm like, hey, you know this guy? No, I'm joking. I told him one time. I said, man, I'm gonna put
I have a media pass, and it's got them on the car, and I said, man, I'm gonna put that in my little, hang it over the rearview mirror, man. So if I get pulled over, I'll be like, hey, you know this guy?
Yeah.
But no, but yeah, man. I mean, I'm definitely pro enforcement. You know, of course, we need structure. We need, you know, but yeah, man. If these, you know, even
I think they need more training.
No, well, they need therapy. They need whatever they need because, like I said, they get put in situations where it's like, yeah, dude, I wouldn't want to wake up to think, okay, I'm gonna see how many guns that get pointed at me or what happens, you know. But
and it's funny, I forgot who said it, but they were talking about like that cops need like regular debriefings and mental checks like they do in the military.
Yeah.
Like I mean, in the military, and I can't remember who it was. It might have actually fucking been Joe Rogan, but he goes, think about it. He's on military. You go through 3 months of boot camp before you even get sent out to get a job.
Yeah.
Cops get 6 months, and then bang, you're out on the street. And then your first day out, you might see somebody get killed and get shot at. Military has a lot of things in place to help you get ready for that.
Yeah.
Cops don't. And it's like, man, that kind of sucks. Like, you know, who knows how many cops are out there dealing with PTSD and they're still on the job. Because they don't have regular mental health checkups. Then, you know, knowing how to de-escalate something, you know, especially, you know, when it comes like to hand-to-hand stuff. And I'll give you a good example, like Coach Muskies, when he was still at Dominion, Jerry, he was in the executive protection unit for the police officers. So that means foreign dignitaries, celebrities, when they came in, they ran that security detail.
Damn.
So, or like big events with like political figures and stuff like that. So I went out there to help him run the combatives class for him one time.
Oh, nice.
And me and my old teammate Matt Ramirez, he was with me at Spartan Pit, went with me to Dominion, real good friend of mine, one of my best friends. But we went out there to help him train. And we had this drill, and it was simple. He put, we had 2 mats, me and Matt, you know, they had a team of 2 cops on one. Right?
Oh, wow.
So my job was to lie down on the ground, and they had 1 police officer come and try and restrain me without doing anything. And my goal was just to get up.
Oh, okay.
If I started getting up, the officer could call in for backup, so one of the officer could come help him. I went against 6 pairs of cops.
Oh,
Only 1 pair could actually hold me down, and these are big dudes, 200 plus.
Yeah.
And I'm small because I'm actively fighting. I'm 165, 160.
Damn.
And the only reason that last pair of cops got me down is because I got tired. And everyone, and I remember, not to say that they're doing a bad job or anything like that. I just think they need more training.
Yeah.
Like that's because like one of the things that was happening is like you know, at the end of class and everything, they thanked us. They're really cool. You know, they're awesome dudes. And yeah, it's funny because part of the drill is like if I start to be able to get up, one of those the cop who was on me, because they had to physically restrain me without, you know, they had to learn how to do it without pulling a weapon or anything.
Right.
Like that. So that was the goal of the drill. He could call for backup, so that's when the second cop can come on. 2 cops on you, and I'm like, dude, I go, I'm a $160 soaking wet. I go, and then, you know, because Coach Jerry was like, dude, you know, hey guys, Steven and Matt, do you got anything for my officers? And I go, do y'all need more training? Go take a boxing class, something. Yeah. Like, I don't care if it's a karate class, do it once a week. Yeah. Like, you know, and it sucks that they don't factor that into like their pay and stuff like that. Even though I think SAPD in particular, they're probably one of the better paid departments like in the nation. Like they make pretty decent money.
No, yeah, and but I mean, and that's
I think they just need more of those services so they can do their job to the best of their ability and avoid them getting hurt. You know what I mean? Everything's about de-escalation, but every time you see something, everything just escalates out of fucking control.
Yeah, bro. Especially, I mean, you're out in the streets, you don't know, you know, in the environment what's going on.
High alert.
Drugs, I mean, alcohol, whatever's involved, you know, But yeah, man. I mean, and that's funny because I had done stuff like that with not like the whole 2-in-1 or 3-in-1, but with Mike Rangel, man. Like he used to have a private class on Sundays for police officers, and he would never let us like go because it was like private. But one day he was like, "Yeah, if you want to show up," and I did, and I got to, and they were out of uniform, so it's like, but yeah, a lot of people I was doing good, man. I mean, I was able to take their back, and you know, and it's kind of and
it's freaky because they do get some training, but it's like they give them like a few go-to moves. If they run into anybody out in the street that knows one more step, they're in trouble. Yeah. And it's like, dude, like you gotta, like I think that should be part of like continuing education. No,
I mean, yeah, it would be smart. I mean, for them because, like you said, I mean, it's gonna be out of pocket, of course, so they got to do it out their own. But even if they were to do like a gut check like once a week and go somewhere and like, hey, you know what, do kind of like a mix of everything. That way. Yeah. You know, body mechanics, man. I mean, you get thrown the next day, you're kind of, you know how to react and get up and defend, man. But yeah.
I can't remember what state did it. I can't remember if it was like New Jersey, or like Massachusetts. They're requiring their police officers to get their blue belt in jiu-jitsu.
That's good though.
And like their violent like incidents have gone down like 60%, something insane, dude. Like I was like, oh shit, like all that's dropped tremendously. I think that'd be great to implement here. I don't know. That's
because
this is speaking from a martial arts perspective.
No, yeah, and I mean the fact that you've done it and you've been there and you've actually you were able to be there to participate in that, man. I mean, yeah, it definitely that was a really cool experience, yeah. And that's good. I mean, what did you take from that, man? I mean, are you thinking, okay, if I get pulled over, I'll just fight? No, just
I know, right? I can get out of this.
Yeah, I got it. 22.
I have a lot of respect for those guys, man. There's a lot they got to deal with. It's a million things at once, and on top of that, they still got to be, public servants.
Right.
They got to protect themselves. They got to protect the general public. And at the same time, it was spooky to hear, but like. To hear Coach Jerry just tell him like, hey, remember, there's going to be cameras on you at all times. You got to watch how you act. And I was like, damn, they got to worry about that too.
No, yeah,
It's not just like people in general that like, oh, someone's always got a camera on you. It's like, oh shit, the cops got to worry about that too. Like, and it's like, and it might not even be that they're intending to do anything wrong or malicious. Is just a knee-jerk reaction to try and protect themselves or their livelihood.
Yeah, and now even if they do something right, it'd be used against them.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you don't know. It's taken out of context, and it's like, damn, it's just such a tough go for those guys. But taken away from that, those guys, they deal with a lot, man, and they do the best they can. And they're fucking people too. That's the thing. They're just it's another person.
Yeah, and the thing too, man. I mean, there's a bad apple in every bunch. I mean, it's everywhere. Whether the post office, law enforcement, the
working at Chase.
Yeah, I was gonna say
hated that place, man.
No, you see, but it's like that, man. And it's one of those things. I mean, you kind of, I mean, you do sign up for what you know, whatever you sign up for, man. That's what you do. But it's at the same time, man. It's growing up, man. For me, I always saw police officers as a good thing. I mean, if they were there, it was because they were keeping us safe, right?
Yeah.
And so. After a while, it kind of changed into like, oh man, it's a cop. You kind of got scared or nervous or whatever. But it kind of changed my mentality growing up, because after a while, I started being afraid of cops. You know, and that's not what you want, man.
Yeah, and I won't lie, like that fear stayed with me into adulthood.
Yeah, man, and it's just, I mean, but even now, like I see them out there and I greet them. I'm like, hey, how's it going? No, I'm not with everybody. I'm not doing it just because they have a gun, of course. But I do it out of courtesy, man, and it's just. I always see them as a good thing. Like I said, I mean, even now I see police officers somewhere, and I'm like, okay, well, good. At least I feel that comfortable. Like I'm not the bad guy. I'm good.
I know. I always just get nervous, if I'm out for a run or I'm just kind of walking, like I see them. I'm like, are they here for me? I haven't done anything wrong.
Yeah, you're like, you're running around with the TV. They're like, hey, what's wrong? What's this guy up to, man?
I just bought this, bro. Like, I'm taking it up to my apartment.
Yeah, I parked on the other side of the street. And it's funny, dude, because one day I went to I go to this flea market like every once in a while. Yeah. And this guy was selling because I was looking for a cassette player, man. I'm old school, dude, so I was gonna put it in my truck. And this guy was selling one, and I was like, oh, dude, how much? He's like, $5. I was like, dude, I'll take it. I'll see if it works, and it does. Nice. And so I took it, and I'm walking across the street with it, and the cop drives by, and on top of my head, I'm thinking, dude, I hope this guy doesn't.
Think you stole a radio?
Yeah, bro. Like I'm over here walking around with a stereo right in the West Side, bro, and I'm thinking, damn, dude, I hope.
Which one was it? Which Bulldog was it?
It's the one right there on Commerce and 90. It's the church parking lot.
Oh yeah. I haven't been to that one.
Yeah, dude, I go. I'm in that side of town, dude. So every time when I drive by, if I see it like packed, I'll stop by. And
when I was younger, when I was a party animal, we used to go to the one on Bandera, way inside 410. It's actually kind of new. Like I want to say the last time I was there was like over 10 years ago. It was like 12.
The indoor one.
Yeah. Because they used to serve beers inside, and they had like a margarita machine. So me and my buddies, it would be like 10 in the morning, dude. We'd be all hungover from that point. Let's go to the Bulldog, and we go get beers and walk around trying to find cool hats and stuff.
No, yeah, you see, and that place is still open. I actually have a buddy of mine that sells music and stuff out there, man. Really? So I haven't been out there in a minute, man. I saw him the other day, and he was like, dude, stop by. Yeah. But they have they actually put money into it. They're trying to make it like the Pica. Like on the south side.
Yeah.
So they they put money, they put walls, they put they painted it up, and they have like I haven't been there in months, honestly, man. But when I was the last time I went there, they were fixing it up. So I'm hoping that they got it up and going, man, for sure.
Go check it out. Yeah. The last time, it's been like 10 years.
No, yeah. You see, and that's people. I grew up on the west side, man, and my parents they were big on garage sales. So we get in the car and we drive around the neighborhoods, and I still do it now. My oldest is cool with it. My youngest, she hates it, man. Like I don't like taking her because I know right away she's gonna be like, Dad, let's go, let's get out of here. And I'm like, man, but
I remember that when I was young. It was fun.
Yeah, you see,
cool shit. Like,
yeah, you see, and it's
I
tell people, man, like my hustle started when I was a kid, and I used to go to the flea markets out there on the south side of Morrison, and it was the outdoor flea markets, and I used to buy my parents would buy the big old bag of salmon and chamoy, and I was going to Jefferson. I was out there in the Jefferson area, man, and a lot of kids were upscale. They were wearing, Guess jeans and Gerbos and all that cool shit. Shit I couldn't afford. Yeah. But I started selling chamoy and salimon, dude, and I was their plug, bro. Like they'd be like, "Hey, you got this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, dude, $2 for $1." So I'm over here freaking making money.
And then you get the big jar of pickles. Stuff,
oh yeah, bro, yeah, man, and that was me. Like people knew me because of that, and so I'll go back to the flea market, boom, 2 more bags, right? So I'm over here making money, and and I remember one day I had told my mom because I was like, "Hey, we're going to the flea market," and she was like, "Oh no, we're not gonna go." And I was like, "What?" I was like freaking out. I was like, dude, I need my stuff. But
there goes my money.
Yeah, bro. So I was just like, you know what, man? But yeah, man. I mean, I loved it. I told people I'm nosy, man. I like going through people's shit. So it's there's a garage sale. I'm like, man, let me see what this guy's up to, man. And
yeah, I usually stop, and it sounds dark, but like estate sales because they get rid of everything.
Oh yeah, bro. Yeah.
Somebody passed or somebody's like they get rid of everything, and they're just trying to dump it. Like, you can get. I've seen like badass antique bed sets for like $100, and you look it up online, it's like that's a $4,000.
Oh yeah, bro. You see, and even now, like I'll say this, like I rent 2 booths here in town where me and my girl, we sell vintage stuff, dude. Antiques, we sell, and it's good money, bro. I ain't gonna lie, dude. Like music.
Could be a side hustle, man. I'm over here trying to make it online.
No, yeah, bro. Yeah, you see, and it's good because even now, like I'll make like $5+ a month, on just stuff that I sell, but it's like I said, like because I'm on the road, man, I'll stop at garage sales, I'll stop at estate sales, I'll go to the flea markets, and I find like stuff that's selling for like hundreds, bro. And my thing is, if something's literally selling for like 100, and I'll sell it for like 50, so I can move it. I'm not a collector. I'm just like, man, I'll put it for 50. Somebody else will buy it. They want to hustle it for 100. That's on them. More power to them. But because of that, I sell stuff, man. And every time I go and set up, everybody's like, hey, the people, man, they come and buy your stuff, and I'm like, well, yeah, cheap, And that's one of the things, man. I love it, man. It's just something. It keeps me busy, and I like it because that's part of my therapy. I get to walk around. I go to these flea markets, and people already know me, man. That's some freaking how much I go. But at the same time, it's like they see me and they're like, hey, I got this, and a lot of times it's good shit, man. And I'm like, yeah, cool. How much?
Cool. Keeps you sociable too.
No, yeah, bro. Yeah, you see, and I'll probably start podcasting out there, man. I'll start walking around.
Yeah, that'd be pretty rad. That'd be a cool segment. Be like, hey, today we're going out of the studio.
Yeah, let me see if I can find a phone plug for my iPhone, man. For $5, under $5, man. Yeah, hell yeah. But yeah, man. I joke around, man, and I tell people, I say, dude, that's where I go get my inspection sticker. That's where I go get my shots. I said that's where I go get everything, bro.
Hell yeah.
No, but I like it, man. I mean, I've been doing it for years, so it's just it's just something else. My therapy, man. But man, I'm gonna cut this short because we've been here for a minute, man. But your fight, man, January 29th. I mean, of course, your pro debut. Steven Martinez, man. Thank you, bro. As always, man. And
I appreciate it, man.
No problem, man. And I hope to bring you back, man. Hopefully, if not before your fight, after, man, for sure.
Yeah, man. Anytime, bro.
No problem. Man, thank you, bro. Everybody out there, man. Once again, this is the Fight Card Podcast. We are in San Antonio, Texas. Until next time. Follow up.